I wasn't supposed to see it. That's what makes this whole thing so much worse. My wife Ashley had been in the shower for 20 minutes when her phone lit up on the kitchen counter. I was making coffee, mind still foggy from sleep, when the notification banner appeared across her lock screen. A message from someone named Jim Guy with a peach emoji next to the name. Last night was incredible. When can I see you again? My hand froze halfway to the coffee pot. I stared at those words, reading them over and over, waiting for them to rearrange themselves into something innocent. They didn't. The phone buzzed again. Another message from the same contact. I can still taste you. My stomach dropped like I'd stepped into an elevator shaft. The coffee maker beeped. Steam rose from my mug. The shower was still running upstairs. Everything was exactly as it had been 30 seconds ago, except my entire world had just shifted on its axis. I picked up her phone. My hands weren't shaking yet. That would come later. Right now, I was operating on pure autopilot, that strange calm that settles over you in the moment before everything falls apart. I knew her passcode. Of course I did. We'd been married for 6 years. We had a 4-year-old daughter sleeping upstairs. We had a mortgage, a joint checking account, and a vacation to Hilton Head planned for next month. I typed in the code 0814, our anniversary. The phone unlocked. I opened the message thread with Jim Guy and started scrolling. What I found made that elevator shaft feeling turn into free fall. The messages went back 3 months. 3 entire months of my wife exchanging increasingly explicit messages with someone named Tyler. Photos I won't describe. Plans I wish I'd never read. Detailed accounts of encounters that had apparently been happening twice a week, sometimes in our own house while I was at work and our daughter Emma was at preschool. Tuesday afternoons. While I was in client meetings at the architecture firm, reviewing blueprints and discussing load-bearing walls, my wife was bringing another man into our bedroom. I scrolled further back. The messages started innocent enough. Conversations about workout routines, meal prep, protein shakes. Then compliments. Then suggestions to meet for coffee. Then a hotel room in downtown Richmond 3 months ago, paid for on a credit card I didn't recognize. The shower shut off upstairs. I had maybe 5 minutes before Ashley came down. 5 minutes to decide what kind of man I was going to be. The kind who confronted immediately, emotions raw and evidence in hand? Or the kind who stepped back, documented everything, and planned his next move carefully? I chose option 2. My phone was in my pocket. I opened the camera app and started taking pictures. Every message, every photo she'd received, every incriminating detail. My hands were shaking now, making some of the shots blurry, but I kept going. 3 months of infidelity, documented in 2 minutes of frantic photography. I heard footsteps on the stairs. I closed out of the messages, locked her phone, and set it back exactly where it had been on the counter. Then I picked up my coffee mug and took a sip. It burned my tongue, but I didn't react. I was too numb for physical pain to register. Ashley walked into the kitchen wearing her blue bathrobe, towel wrapped around her hair. She looked exactly like she had every morning for the past 6 years. Same smile, same routine. She kissed me on the cheek, the same cheek she'd kissed yesterday morning, and the morning before that, and probably the same morning she'd spent the afternoon with Tyler. "Morning, honey," she said, reaching for her phone. "Did you sleep okay?" I watched her check the screen. Watched her read those messages. Watched her face remain completely neutral as she typed out a response, then set the phone face down on the counter. "Fine," I said. My voice sounded normal, steady. I was amazed by that. "You?" "Great, actually. I had the best dream." She opened the refrigerator and pulled out the orange juice. "We should probably get Emma up soon. She's got that field trip today, remember?" I remembered. The zoo. I'd been planning to leave work early and chaperone. Emma had been excited all week about seeing the new penguin exhibit. Right, I said. The zoo. Ashley poured her juice, completely at ease. This was a woman who'd perfected the art of deception. 3 months of lying, and she could still stand in our kitchen making small talk about field trips without a single tell. No guilty glances, no nervous energy, nothing. I wondered how long it would have continued if that message hadn't come through. How many more Tuesday afternoons? How many more hotel rooms? Would it have been 6 months? A year? Would I have ever found out, or would I have spent the rest of my life as the oblivious husband, raising a daughter with a woman who'd checked out of our marriage but stayed for the convenience? I'll get Emma ready, Ashley said, heading back toward the stairs. Can you make her the dinosaur pancakes? She's been asking for them all week. Sure, I said. I stood alone in the kitchen, listening to my wife's footsteps fade upstairs, listening to her gentle voice waking our daughter with the same loving tone she'd used since Emma was born. I looked at my phone, at the evidence I'd just collected, at the proof that would blow up everything we'd built together. Then I opened my laptop and started researching divorce attorneys in Virginia. I closed the laptop before the search results could fully load. The glowing screen felt accusatory in the quiet kitchen, like I'd already done something wrong by looking up divorce lawyers. I hadn't. Ashley had. The shower shut off upstairs. I heard the pipes groan, then silence. My phone sat next to hers on the counter. Same black cases, different worlds contained inside. I'd transferred 43 screenshots to my cloud storage, then deleted them from my camera roll. The evidence existed now in 3 places: her phone, my cloud account, and burned into my memory in high definition. The coffee had gone cold in my mug. I dumped it in the sink and rinsed the cup, watching brown liquid spiral down the drain. Through the window above the sink, I could see our neighbor's sprinkler system starting its morning cycle, water arcing across their lawn in methodical patterns. Everything outside looked exactly like it had yesterday. Same houses, same street, same world. But it wasn't. I heard Ashley's footsteps on the stairs. Light, quick steps. She hummed something. I couldn't identify the tune. The sound made my jaw clench. She appeared in the doorway wearing jeans and a green sweater, her hair still damp but combed through. Emma's still out cold, she said, moving past me to the coffee maker. I'm going to let her sleep another 20 minutes. The field trip doesn't start until 9:30. Okay. The word came out normal. I sounded like myself. Ashley poured coffee into her favorite mug, the white one with the chipped handle that she refused to throw away. She'd bought it at a farmer's market during our honeymoon. 6 years ago. Before Tyler. Before she'd decided our marriage vows had expiration dates. Did you finish those blueprints? She asked, leaning against the counter. The ones for the medical building? Most of them. You were up late. She sipped her coffee, watching me over the rim. I heard you come to bed around midnight. I had come to bed at midnight. I'd laid next to her in the dark, listening to her breathe, wondering if she'd been thinking about him. Wondering if Tuesday afternoon, yesterday afternoon, she'd showered before I got home. Wondering if I'd kissed her hello with his cologne still on her skin. Yeah, I said. Complex project. You work too hard, she smiled. The same smile she'd given Emma at breakfast yesterday. The same smile she'd given me when I told her I loved her last week. You need a break. Hilton Head is going to be perfect. Just the 3 of us. Beach, relaxation, no work emails. Hilton Head. 2 weeks from now. I'd booked the rental house 4 months ago, paid the deposit on our joint credit card. The same credit card she probably used to buy whatever she wore for Tyler. Can't wait, I said. Ashley's phone buzzed on the counter between us. We both looked at it. The screen lit up. A text notification banner appeared, but this time the preview was turned off. Just a name. Tyler. My heart stopped, then started again, too fast. Ashley's hand moved toward the phone. Casual, unhurried. She picked it up, glanced at the screen, and her thumb moved across it in a practice swipe. Reading. Her expression didn't change. Not even a flicker. Gym reminder, she said, setting the phone face down. I need to renew my membership this week. The lie came out smooth as water. She looked right at me when she said it, her eyes clear and steady. No guilt, no hesitation, nothing. I wondered how many lies I'd believed, how many times she'd looked at me exactly like this and fed me fiction while I'd swallowed it whole. You should, I said. Renew it. I will. She checked her watch, the one I'd given her for our 5th anniversary. I'm going to wake Emma. Can you make her those dinosaur pancakes? She'll be excited. Sure. Ashley left the kitchen. I heard her footsteps on the stairs, then her voice, soft and sweet, drifting down from Emma's room. Good morning, sweetheart. Time to wake up. Big day today. I pulled out the pancake mix from the pantry, measured the water, stirred the batter. My hands performed the familiar motions while my brain ran calculations. 3 months, 12 weeks. Approximately 24 encounters if they'd maintained the twice-weekly schedule. 24 times she'd driven to meet him, or brought him here, into our home, into our bedroom. 24 times she'd come home and kissed Emma goodnight. 24 times she'd climbed into bed next to me. The batter looked right. I heated the griddle. Emma's voice carried down the stairs, high and excited. Penguins! We're going to see penguins! That's right, baby, Ashley said. Real penguins. I poured batter onto the hot surface, trying to shape it into something resembling a stegosaurus. It looked more like a blob with spikes. Emma wouldn't care. She'd eat it anyway and tell me it was perfect. They came downstairs together, Emma in her purple jacket, Ashley carrying her backpack. Emma ran to me, wrapping her arms around my leg. Daddy, Miss Roberts said we might get to watch them swim. I picked her up, settled her on my hip. She smelled like strawberry shampoo in childhood. That sounds amazing, Em. You'll have to tell me all about it when you get home. I will. I'm going to remember everything. Ashley stood in the doorway watching us, smiling. The perfect mother, the perfect wife, the perfect liar. Pancakes are almost ready, I said. You're the best. Ashley moved to the refrigerator, pulled out the orange juice. What would we do without you? The question hung in the air between us. I set Emma in her booster seat and slid the misshapen dinosaur pancake onto her plate. She squealed with delight, already reaching for the syrup. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out. An email notification from my calendar app. Meeting with Stevens, 10 a.m., load-bearing wall revisions. Work. Normal life. The world expected me to show up and function like everything was fine. Ashley sat across from Emma, scrolling through her phone. Her phone. The one with 3 months of evidence still sitting in the message thread, probably still open to whatever Tyler had just sent her. The gym reminder. I poured myself another cup of coffee I didn't want. I might be late tonight, Ashley said, not looking up from her screen. I have that thing. My hand tightened on the mug handle. What thing? The work thing. I told you last week. Dinner meeting with the new clients, the ones from the pharmaceutical company. She hadn't told me. Or maybe she had, and it had been another lie, and I'd accepted it like I'd accepted everything else. Right, I said. The dinner meeting. Should be done by 8, 9 at the latest. She looked up, met my eyes. I'll text you when I'm leaving. Emma chewed her pancake, syrup on her chin, oblivious. She kicked her feet against the chair, humming the penguin song from some cartoon she loved. Sounds good, I said. Ashley smiled. Thanks for understanding. I know these late meetings are annoying, I wondered if Tyler would pick her up or if she'd drive herself. I wondered if they'd actually go to dinner or skip straight to whatever hotel room he'd booked. I wondered how much of our marriage had been real and how much had been performance. The kitchen clock read 8:47. Emma's field trip started in 43 minutes. I had a meeting in 73 minutes. Ashley had a lover waiting for her response on her phone. Everything looked normal. Everything was broken. "More juice, Daddy," Emma said, holding up her empty cup. I refilled it. Ashley checked her watch. The sprinklers outside continued their methodical arc across the neighbor's lawn. And I stood there, pouring orange juice for my daughter, watching my wife text her lover, and planning absolutely nothing. Not yet. I sat in my truck in the architecture firm's parking lot for 20 minutes before going inside. The screenshots burned in my phone like radioactive evidence. I'd dropped Emma at preschool, watched her run toward the penguin posters on the wall, her backpack bouncing with each step. She'd turned and waved, gap-toothed smile splitting her face. I'd waved back. Now I needed to think. The smart move was a lawyer. Document everything. File quietly. Protect Emma. That's what a rational person would do. But rationality felt like a language I'd forgotten overnight. Instead, I found myself pulling up the message thread again, studying the timestamps. Tuesday afternoons, like clockwork. The last one was 6 days ago. Today was Wednesday. I checked Ashley's calendar, the shared family one we both used for coordinating schedules. She had lunch, Kristen, blocked out from noon to 2. Kristen was her college roommate who lived in Charlotte. They hadn't seen each other in person since last Thanksgiving. My hands were steady as I opened the location-sharing app we'd set up years ago. "For safety," Ashley had said when Emma was born, "so we always know where each other are." We'd never turned it off. I went inside, told my boss, Michael, that I had a family emergency and needed to work from home. He barely looked up from the rendering on his screen, just nodded, and told me to take whatever time I needed. I'd been at the firm for 8 years, never missed a deadline, never asked for special treatment. The drive home took 12 minutes. Ashley's car was already gone. She taught a Pilates class on Wednesday mornings at the gym. The same gym where Tyler presumably worked out. Maybe worked. Maybe he was a trainer there. The messages hadn't specified. Inside, the house still smelled like the pancakes I'd made. Emma's juice cup sat in the sink where I'd left it. The normality of it felt obscene. I went to our bedroom, stood in the doorway and looked at the bed we'd shared for 6 years. The bed where we'd brought Emma home to, where we'd talked about having another kid someday, where apparently Ashley had been with Tyler on Tuesday afternoons while I reviewed blueprints downtown. The sheets were fresh. She must have changed them yesterday. I checked the hamper in our bathroom. Found the old sheets wadded at the bottom, mixed with towels and Emma's grass-stained play clothes. I pulled them out, held them up to the light. Nothing visible. But I bagged them anyway, stuffed them in a garbage bag and put them in my truck. Maybe DNA testing was paranoid. Maybe it was necessary. I didn't know the rules for this. Back inside, I searched the nightstand on Ashley's side. Found nothing unusual. Hand cream, a novel she'd been reading, sleep mask, earplugs. The drawer below held chargers, old receipts, a journal I didn't open. Even now, some part of me respected her privacy. The irony wasn't lost on me. I moved to her closet. Rows of clothes organized by color, shoes lined up beneath. Everything neat, everything in its place. Ashley liked order, liked control. On the top shelf, I found a shoe box that didn't contain shoes. Inside, hotel receipts. The Marriott downtown. 4 of them, spanning the last 2 months. All charged to her personal credit card, the one she used for her expenses, while our joint account covered household bills and Emma's needs. Separate finances had seemed reasonable when we'd set it up. Now it just looked like premeditation. I photographed each receipt, checked the dates against my work calendar. Every single one fell on a day when I'd had afternoon meetings that ran late. Days when I'd texted her that I'd grab dinner on the way home, not to wait up. She'd been planning around my schedule. My phone buzzed. A text from Ashley. Forgot to mention, running errands after class. Home by 3 to get Emma. Love you. I checked the location app. She was at the gym, had been for 40 minutes, which tracked with her usual class time. I texted back. Sounds good. Love you too. The lie came easily. Apparently, we were both good at this. I put the receipts back exactly as I'd found them, closed the shoebox, returned it to the shelf. Went downstairs and made coffee I didn't drink. Opened my laptop and stared at a blank screen. At 11:47, Ashley's location started moving. Away from the gym, but not toward home. I watched the blue dot travel through Richmond's West End, heading toward Short Pump. She stopped at the same Marriott from the receipts. My coffee had gone cold. I dumped it in the sink. The smart move was still a lawyer. Document and file. But I was already grabbing my keys, already heading to the truck. Some distant part of my brain recognized this as a mistake, but the rest of me didn't care. I parked 3 rows away from Ashley's sedan in the hotel lot. Her car was easy to spot, the stick figure family decal on the back window that Emma had insisted we get. Daddy, mommy, little girl, and a cat we didn't actually own but Emma had wanted included anyway. A silver Audi pulled in 2 spots down from hers. I watched a man get out, mid-30s, athletic build, expensive haircut. He didn't look toward my truck, just headed straight for the lobby entrance. 3 minutes later, Ashley's car door opened. She'd changed since the gym. Sundress, sandals, hair down instead of in her usual workout ponytail. She checked her phone, smiled at something on the screen, then followed the same path the man had taken. I sat there for 5 minutes. 10. 15. Then I got out and went inside. The lobby was generic hotel elegance. Marble floors, leather furniture, a bored desk clerk scrolling on his phone. I walked past like I belonged there, headed for the elevators. Didn't know what floor, didn't have a plan. Just needed to move. The elevator doors opened. A middle-aged couple got out, arguing quietly about whether they'd lock their car. I stepped in, stared at the button panel. Pressed 4 at random. The hallway was empty. Beige carpet, beige walls, the universal silence of hotel corridors in the middle of the day. I walked slowly, listening. Heard a TV through one door, nothing through the next 3. At the end of the hall, near the ice machine, I heard laughter. A woman's voice I'd know anywhere. Room 447. I stood outside the door, could hear them clearly now. Ashley saying something I couldn't make out, then the man's deeper voice responding. More laughter. The sound of normalcy, of ease, of 2 people comfortable with each other. My hand rose to knock. Hovered there. I thought about Emma at preschool, probably eating her snack right now, telling her friends about the penguins she'd see tomorrow. I thought about the dinosaur pancakes this morning, Ashley kissing the top of her head before heading to the gym. I thought about the shared calendar, the location app, the stick figure family on the car window. I lowered my hand, turned around and walked back to the elevator. Through the lobby, to my truck. Started the engine and drove home. At 2:47, Ashley's location started moving away from the hotel. By 3:15, her car pulled into our driveway. I was sitting at the kitchen table with my laptop open, spreadsheet on the screen. She came in smiling, keys jingling. Hey, you're home early. Slow day, I said. Figured I'd work here. She kissed my cheek, smelled like hotel soap and mints. Sweet. I'm going to grab a quick shower before getting Emma. Traffic was terrible. Where were you again? Errands. Boring stuff. She was already heading upstairs. Be down in 10. The shower started. I opened my phone and looked at the screenshots again. Looked at the photos of hotel receipts. Looked at the location history showing her exact movements today. Then I opened my contacts and scrolled to the name I needed. Kevin Patterson, a lawyer I'd worked with on a commercial development project 2 years ago. He'd mentioned during one of our site meetings that he also handled family law. We'd laughed about it then, him joking that he liked having options when construction deals fell through. I typed out a message. Kevin, need to discuss a personal legal matter. Divorce. Can we meet tomorrow? My thumb hovered over send. Upstairs, the shower was still running. Ashley would be down in 10 minutes, exactly like she said. We'd drive together to get Emma. Our daughter would run out chattering about her day, and we'd listen and smile and be parents. Then tonight, Ashley had her dinner meeting, and I'd give Emma a bath and read her 3 stories and tuck her in. The same routine, the same life. Except now I knew what it cost. I hit send. I sat in the parking lot of Emma's preschool for 20 minutes after dropping her off, watching other parents hustle back to their cars, checking phones, rushing to wherever their lives took them next. Normal lives. Lives where the biggest concern was making it to work on time or remembering to pick up dry cleaning. My phone showed 3 missed calls from Ashley. I'd left the house before she woke up, telling Emma we were having a special breakfast adventure at McDonald's. She'd been thrilled. Ashley would be confused, maybe worried. Good. The law office of Patricia Brennan occupied the 3rd floor of a converted tobacco warehouse in Shockoe Bottom. I'd found her through a colleague whose brother had gone through a divorce 2 years ago. She's a pit bull, he'd said. Doesn't mess around. The waiting room smelled like leather and old paper. Abstract paintings hung on exposed brick walls. A receptionist with silver hair and reading glasses gestured me toward a chair. Ms. Brennan will be with you shortly. Shortly turned out to be 5 minutes. The woman who emerged from the hallway looked nothing like I'd imagined. Mid-40s, athletic build, dark hair pulled back in a simple ponytail. She wore jeans and a blazer. No wedding ring. Mr. Garrett? She extended her hand. Her grip was firm. Come on back. Her office continued the industrial aesthetic. More brick, tall windows overlooking the street, a massive wooden desk that looked salvaged from somewhere important. Framed diplomas from UVA lined one wall. She gestured to a chair across from her desk and settled into her own. So, she folded her hands on the desk. You mentioned infidelity in your message. Tell me everything. I pulled out my phone and started from the beginning. The notification banner. The messages. The timeline I'd constructed. She listened without interrupting, occasionally jotting notes on a yellow legal pad. When I showed her the photographs I'd taken of Ashley's phone, she leaned forward. You documented all of this when? 2 days ago, Wednesday morning? And she doesn't know you know? No. Good. She made another note. That's very good. Have you confronted the other party? Tyler? No, I followed them to a hotel yesterday but didn't approach. Also good. The last thing we need is an assault charge complicating things. She flipped through her notes. You have a daughter, Emma, age 4. Are you concerned about custody? The question hit harder than I expected. I want her. Full custody if possible. Tell me about Ashley's relationship with Emma. Is she a good mother? I thought about Ashley making dinosaur pancakes, reading bedtime stories, braiding Emma's hair with infinite patience. Yes, she is. Patricia nodded slowly. That complicates things. Virginia courts favor joint custody unless there's evidence of abuse, neglect, or substance issues. Infidelity alone won't be enough for full custody. She's been bringing him to our house, our bedroom, while Emma's at school. I understand your anger, but from a legal standpoint, if Emma wasn't present and wasn't endangered, That doesn't constitute grounds for denying custody. She softened slightly. I'm not saying it's right. I'm telling you what a judge will care about. I felt something cold settle in my chest. So she gets to destroy our marriage and still gets half of Emma's time? Most likely, yes. Unless we can document a pattern that demonstrates poor judgment affecting Emma's welfare. She tapped her pen against the legal pad. Has Ashley ever left Emma unsupervised? Brought this Tyler around her? Anything that shows Emma's safety or well-being has been compromised? Not that I know of. Then we focus on what we can control. Assets, division of property, support arrangements. She pulled up something on her computer. You're an architect. What's your annual income? I told her. She asked about Ashley's income from teaching Pilates classes, our mortgage, savings, retirement accounts. The questions were clinical, reducing 6 years of marriage to a spreadsheet of assets and liabilities. The house is in both names? Yes, we bought it 4 years ago. Any prenuptial agreement? No. She made another note. Virginia is an equitable distribution state, which means marital property gets divided fairly, but not necessarily equally. The affair might influence how a judge views equitable, especially if we can show she spent marital funds on the relationship. I remembered the hotel receipts. She used her personal credit card for the hotels, but we have a joint checking account. Money moves between them. That could help. We'll need bank statements, credit card records, anything showing expenditures related to the affair. She looked up from her notes. How do you want to proceed? Some clients prefer mediation, trying to keep things amicable for the children. Others want a more aggressive approach. She lied to my face for 3 months, brought another man into our bed. What do you think? Patricia's expression didn't change. I think you're angry, which is completely understandable. But I need you to think clearly about what you want the outcome to be. Scorched earth tactics might feel satisfying, but they're expensive, time-consuming, and often backfire when children are involved. Emma will grow up. She'll ask questions about why her parents split up. What do you want to be able to tell her? The question stopped me cold. I hadn't thought that far ahead. In my mind, Emma was frozen at 4 years old, asking for dinosaur pancakes and excited about penguins. But she'd be 5, then 10, then 15. Eventually, she'd want to know why her family fell apart. I want to tell her the truth, I said finally. That her mother made choices that broke our family, but that we both love her. Good. That's a healthy perspective. Patricia closed her laptop. Here's what I recommend. We file for divorce citing adultery as grounds. Virginia is one of the few states where that still matters. We'll request a hearing date, but in the meantime, we gather every piece of evidence we can. Financial records, documentation of the affair, anything that builds our case. You continue acting normal at home. Don't confront her. Don't tip your hand. Let her think everything's fine. For how long? Until we're ready. Could be a week. Could be a month. Depends on how quickly we can compile everything. She pulled out a folder and slid it across the desk. This is a retainer agreement. My fee is $350 an hour. I'll need $5,000 up front. Read through it, and if you want to proceed, sign and get it back to me with a check. I took the folder without opening it. $350 an hour. $5,000 just to start. The number should have shocked me, but I felt nothing. Just another detail in the dismantling of my life. One more thing. Patricia's voice softened slightly. Do you have support? Family, friends, a therapist? This process is going to be brutal. You'll need people you can talk to. My parents are in Florida. Ashley's family is here. That could be an issue. If her parents are local, they'll likely provide childcare support, which courts view favorably. Do you have anyone in Richmond who can help with Emma if needed? I thought about my colleagues, the guys I played basketball with on weekends, the neighbors we barbecued with in summer. How many of them were really friends versus acquaintances? How many would take sides? I'll figure it out. She stood, signaling the end of the meeting. Get me those financial records as soon as possible. And Mr. Garrett, don't do anything stupid. No confrontations, no dramatic gestures. Just document everything and let me handle the legal side. I shook her hand and left, the retainer agreement tucked under my arm like evidence of something I couldn't quite name yet. My phone showed 6 missed calls from Ashley now. A text. Where are you? Is Emma okay? I sat in my truck and typed back, Emma's fine, dropped her at school, had an early meeting, see you tonight. 3 dots appeared immediately, then disappeared. Then appeared again. Okay, love you. I stared at those 2 words for a long time before starting the engine. The Tuesday pattern continued. I tracked her to the Marriott again. Same parking spot, same side entrance, same 45 minutes. When she came home, I was reviewing blueprints at the kitchen table, asking about her day like nothing had changed. How was your afternoon? I asked, not looking up from the structural plans. Good. Taught a private session, then grabbed groceries. She set bags on the counter. They were out of the organic milk Emma likes. I nodded, making a note on the blueprint. The lie sat between us like furniture, something we both navigated around without acknowledging. Patricia had been clear. Documentation, normalcy, patience. No confrontations. No tipping my hand. Every Tuesday, I added more screenshots to the folder on my laptop. Every evening, I kissed my wife goodnight and pretended I didn't know where she'd been. 3 weeks after hiring Patricia, Ashley suggested we take Emma to the Children's Museum on Saturday. There's a new dinosaur exhibit, she said, scrolling through her phone at breakfast. Emma would love it. I watched her across the table. She wore my favorite sweater, the green one that matched her eyes. Her hair was pulled back in a ponytail. She looked exactly like the woman I'd married. Sounds good, I said. Saturday arrived clear and cold. Emma wore her dinosaur shirt and light-up sneakers, bouncing with excitement as we walked through the museum entrance. Ashley held her hand, pointing out exhibits, reading information plaques in silly voices that made Emma giggle. We looked like any other family, happy, intact. I took photos with my phone. Emma in front of the T-Rex skeleton, Ashley helping her dig for fossils in the sandpit, both of them laughing at the animatronic Triceratops. Patricia had mentioned that evidence of me being an involved present parent would help in custody negotiations. So I documented everything. Not just Ashley's affair, but my own participation in Emma's life. Every breakfast I made, every bedtime story, every trip to the park or museum. I kept a log on my laptop, time-stamped and detailed. Daddy, look! Emma tugged my hand, pulling me toward a display of fossilized eggs. I crouched beside her, listening as she explained what she'd learned about baby dinosaurs. Ashley stood a few feet away, checking her phone. Her expression shifted, just slightly, as she read something. Then she smiled and put the phone away. Who wants ice cream? She asked. We sat in the museum cafe, Emma between us, chocolate ice cream smearing her face. Ashley wiped her chin with a napkin, patient and gentle. The perfect mother. My phone buzzed. A text from Patricia. Can you meet Monday at 2 p.m.? Need to discuss timeline. I responded with a thumbs-up emoji and pocketed the phone. Work? Ashley asked. Just a client question. She nodded, returning her attention to Emma's story about the pterodactyl in the flight exhibit. That night, after Emma was asleep, Ashley curled against me in bed. Her hair smelled like her usual shampoo, coconut and vanilla. Her hand rested on my chest. Today was nice, she said quietly. It was. We should do more things like that, as a family. I stared at the ceiling, feeling the weight of her hand, the warmth of her body pressed against mine. 3 months of Tuesdays. 3 months of Tyler. 3 months of hotel rooms and lies. Yeah, I said. We should. She fell asleep within minutes, her breathing steady and even. I lay awake, watching shadows move across the ceiling, thinking about the folder on my laptop that now contained 43 screenshots, 7 location logs, and detailed notes about every Tuesday since I'd found out. Monday afternoon, I sat across from Patricia in her office. She'd printed everything I'd sent her, the documents spread across her desk in organized stacks. "This is solid," she said, tapping one stack with her pen. "Very solid. The pattern is clear, the evidence is irrefutable. So what's next?" She leaned back in her chair. "We file. I'll prepare the paperwork this week. You'll be served simultaneously with her. It's cleaner that way. Avoids any claims of ambush or hiding assets." "When?" 2 weeks, give or take. I want to make sure everything's airtight." She pulled out a calendar. "The question is where and when you want this to happen." I hadn't thought about the logistics, the actual moment when the pretending would end. "Not at home," I said. "Emma doesn't need to see that." Patricia nodded. "Smart. Does Ashley have a regular schedule? Somewhere she goes alone?" "Tuesday afternoons." The words came out flat. Patricia's expression didn't change, but something flickered in her eyes. Understanding, maybe. Or pity. "We can arrange for a process server to deliver papers at her gym," she said. "Public, but not too public. Professional." "What about me?" "You'll receive yours at your office, same day, same time. It's procedural. You already know what's coming, obviously, but legally we need to serve both parties." I nodded, processing. 2 weeks. 14 days of pretending. 14 more dinners. 14 more bedtime stories with Emma. 14 more nights lying next to someone who thought I didn't know. "One more thing," Patricia said. She pulled out another document. "I need you to start thinking about custody arrangements. What you want specifically. Full custody, joint, visitation schedules, all of it." "Full custody." She didn't look surprised. "Based on the affair alone, that's unlikely. Virginia courts prioritize the child's best interests, and unless we can prove Ashley is an unfit mother, she's lying to our daughter every day." My voice came out harder than I intended. "She's teaching Emma that deception is normal, that betrayal is acceptable." Patricia's expression softened slightly. "I understand. But legally, those aren't grounds for denying custody. She's not abusing Emma, not neglecting her, not putting her in danger. She's having an affair, which makes her a bad wife, not necessarily a bad mother in the court's eyes." The distinction felt meaningless, but I knew Patricia was right. I'd researched enough to understand how family courts worked. "Joint custody, then," I said. "But I want primary physical custody. She can have visitation." "That's more realistic. With your documentation of involvement, the photos, the logs, the consistent presence, we can make a strong case for primary placement." She made notes on a legal pad. "Especially if we can show your schedule is more stable than hers." I thought about Tuesday afternoons, about hotel receipts and location logs. "Her schedule varies," I said. "Private clients, different times. Mine is consistent, 8 to 5, Monday through Friday." Patricia wrote that down. "Good. We'll use that. Stability matters." I left her office as the sun was setting. The sky streaked orange and purple over downtown Richmond. Traffic was heavy with rush hour, brake lights stretching ahead in red chains. My phone buzzed. Ashley. "Picking up Thai food for dinner. Emma wants pad Thai." I texted back, "Sounds good, thanks." 2 weeks, 14 days. I could do 14 more days. At home, Emma ran to greet me, still wearing her preschool clothes, paint stains on her shirt from art class. I picked her up, feeling her solid weight, her small arms around my neck. "We made handprint turkeys today," she announced. "Yeah? Where's yours? She wriggled down and ran to retrieve a piece of construction paper from the kitchen counter. A brown handprint with googly eyes and a paper beak, surrounded by feathers in red, orange, and yellow. It's beautiful, I said, and meant it. Ashley emerged from the kitchen, setting plates on the table. Dinner's ready. We ate together, the three of us, Emma chattering about turkeys and Thanksgiving and whether we could get a real turkey as a pet. Ashley laughed, patient and engaged, explaining why turkeys made difficult pets. I watched them together, memorizing it. Whatever happened in 2 weeks, whatever came after the papers were served and the pretending ended, this was the last time we'd sit at this table as a family that didn't know it was already broken. Emma asked for seconds. Ashley served her more noodles. I cleared plates and loaded the dishwasher. Normal, routine, ordinary. 14 more days of ordinary. Then everything would change. I found myself standing in the bedroom closet on a Thursday afternoon, surrounded by Ashley's clothes, pulling out winter coats she hadn't worn in months. Emma had insisted on hide and seek after preschool pickup, and I'd chosen this spot knowing it would take her a while to find me. The game was a welcome distraction from the calendar square I'd been staring at all morning. 9 days until Patricia served the papers. The closet door burst open before I expected it. But it wasn't Emma. Ashley stumbled backward, one hand yanking up the zipper on her jeans, the other reaching behind her to steady herself against the doorframe. Her shirt was unbuttoned halfway down, and her face went from flushed to pale in the span of a heartbeat. Behind the winter coats, pressed against the back wall like he thought he could melt into the drywall, stood a man I recognized from the gym parking lot photos Patricia's investigator had taken. Tyler. He was still fumbling with his belt, his cologne so thick it made my eyes water. Cheap stuff. The kind that came in bottles shaped like sports cars. "Daddy!" Emma's voice carried from down the hall. "I'm gonna find you." I stood there, frozen in the closet doorway, watching Ashley's mouth open and close without sound. Tyler had gone completely still, one hand still on his belt buckle, the other gripping a coat hanger like it might save him. 3 months of careful planning, 2 weeks of sleeping next to her while knowing. 9 days until the papers were served. All of it evaporated in the space between one breath and the next. "Daddy, are you in?" Emma appeared in the bedroom doorway, her face bright with the thrill of the hunt. She stopped. "Mommy?" Ashley spun around, her hands going to her shirt buttons. "Emma, sweetie, go back to your room. Mommy and Daddy are—" I stepped forward and grabbed Tyler by the collar of his polo shirt. He made a choking sound as I yanked him out from behind the coats and slammed him against the bedroom wall hard enough to rattle the framed photos hanging there. One of them, our wedding picture, tilted sideways. "Daddy!" Emma's voice went high and scared. "Emma, go to your room!" I didn't recognize my own voice. It came out flat and cold, like someone else was speaking through my mouth. "But now!" She ran. I heard her door slam down the hall, then the sound of crying. Tyler's eyes were wide, his breath coming in short gasps. Up close, he looked younger than I'd expected. Maybe 26, 27. The kind of guy who probably still lived with roommates and thought protein shakes counted as meals. "Please, man, I didn't—" "She said you were—" "Shut up!" I shoved him harder against the wall, then let go. He sagged, one hand going to his throat. "Get out!" He looked at Ashley, who had managed to button her shirt but still looked like she might be sick. She shook her head once, a tiny movement, but I caught it. I said, "Get out." I stepped between them. Now, before I change my mind about keeping this civilized. Tyler edged along the wall toward the bedroom door, his eyes darting between Ashley and me. When he reached the doorway, he bolted. I heard him stumble on the stairs, then the front door opening and slamming shut. Ashley had her arms wrapped around herself, her face blotchy and red. "It's not— this isn't— don't." I walked past her to Emma's room. She was curled up on her bed, her favorite stuffed elephant clutched to her chest, tears streaming down her face. "Is Mommy okay? Are you okay?" I sat on the edge of her bed, my hands shaking so badly I had to press them against my knees. "Everything's fine, sweetheart. Mommy and Daddy just had a grown-up problem to deal with." "Why did you push that man?" "He was somewhere he shouldn't be." "Like when I'm not supposed to be in the cookie jar?" The comparison was so absurd I almost laughed. "Something like that." "Can we call Grandma and Grandpa? I want to talk to them." My parents. They'd been asking about visiting next month, had mentioned wanting to take Emma to the aquarium. I pulled out my phone, my mind still blank and buzzing, and hit the video call button before I could think better of it. My mother's face appeared on the screen, my father leaning in beside her. "Well, this is a nice surprise. Emma, sweetheart, how are—" She stopped. "What's wrong?" Emma's face crumpled again. "Daddy pushed a man and Mommy was crying and I'm scared." I watched my mother's expression change, watched her eyes go sharp and focused in that way they did when she knew something was seriously wrong. "Emma, honey, can you put Daddy on the phone?" I took it from Emma's small hands. My mother was already talking before I could say anything. "What happened?" Ashley appeared in Emma's doorway, her face blotchy and desperate. "Let me talk to them. I can explain." "Explain what?" My father's voice, harder than I'd ever heard it. "Explain why our granddaughter is terrified?" "I came home early," I said, my voice still that same flat monotone. "Found Ashley in our bedroom closet with another man. Emma walked in before I could get him out of the house." My mother's hand went to her mouth. My father's face went dark red. Ashley lunged for the phone. "That's not— You're making it sound worse than it was." "Was he in our closet?" I pulled the phone away from her reach. "Was he half-dressed?" She stopped, her mouth working silently. "Did our daughter see you trying to cover it up?" "Please." Her voice broke. "Please don't do this." My father was saying something, his voice loud enough that Emma flinched. My mother was crying. Ashley was reaching for the phone again, her face desperate and ugly with panic. "Mom, Dad, I need to go. I'll call you back." I ended the call before they could respond. Ashley grabbed my arm. You can't just tell them like that. You're ruining everything." "I'm ruining everything?" I pulled away from her. "I didn't bring someone into our house, into our bedroom, while our daughter was downstairs. She was supposed to be at her play date. You weren't supposed to pick her up until 4. The words hung in the air between us. She realized what she'd said a second too late, her hand going to her mouth. "So you planned it." My voice came out quiet. Deadly quiet. "You scheduled it around Emma's play date." "That's not— I didn't mean— How many times?" I stepped closer to her. "How many times did you bring him here while Emma was in the house?" She backed up until she hit the door frame. "Never, I swear. This was the first. Don't lie to me." I pulled out my phone, opened the folder Patricia had helped me create, screenshots, timestamps, location data. "Tuesday afternoons, twice a week for 3 months. You think I don't know?" Her face went white. "You've been— How long have you—" "Long enough." I turned back to Emma, who was watching us with huge, frightened eyes. "Emma, sweetie, pack a bag. You're going to stay with Grandma and Grandpa for a few days." "I want to stay here." Her voice was small and scared. "I know, baby, but Mommy and Daddy need to have some grown-up conversations, and it'll be more fun at Grandma's house. She said something about making those cookies you like." Ashley pushed past me into the room. "You can't just take her. You can't— Watch me." I pulled out my phone again and called my parents back. My mother answered on the first ring. "We're coming to get Emma," she said, before I could speak. "We're leaving now. We'll be there in 40 minutes." Thank you. And we're calling our lawyer. My father's voice in the background. This isn't over. I helped Emma pack her overnight bag, adding extra clothes and her favorite books. Ashley stood in the doorway, crying, but she didn't try to stop me. When Emma's bag was ready, I carried it downstairs and set it by the front door. Tyler's shoes were still in the living room, kicked off by the couch. Expensive running shoes, the kind with the air cushions and the reflective strips. I picked them up and walked to the garage. The duct tape was on the third shelf, right where I always kept it. I carried it and the shoes back inside, dragged a chair under the ceiling fan in the living room, and climbed up. Ashley appeared at the bottom of the stairs. "What are you doing?" I didn't answer. I taped the first shoe to one of the fan blades, wrapping the tape around and around until it held firm. Then the second shoe on the opposite blade for balance. "Have you lost your mind?" Ashley's voice went shrill. "Get down from there." I climbed down, moved the chair back, and flipped the fan switch to high. The shoes spun in lazy circles at first, then faster, the fan wobbling slightly under the unbalanced weight. One shoe came loose and flew across the room, hitting the wall with a satisfying thunk. The other held on for 3 more rotations before the tape gave way and sent it spinning into the kitchen. Ashley stared at me like I'd grown a second head. "You're insane." "Maybe." I walked past her to the stairs. But I'm not the one who just blew up our family. In our bedroom, I pulled open her closet. The same closet where I'd found her an hour ago. The same closet where she'd been hiding him behind winter coats while our daughter played downstairs. I started pulling clothes off hangers, dresses, blouses, jeans, sweaters. Everything landed in a pile on the floor. "Stop it!" Ashley grabbed my arm, trying to pull me away. "Those are my clothes." "Were." I kept pulling. "They were your clothes." By the time my parents arrived, I had everything stuffed into garbage bags. 6 of them, lined up by the front door next to Emma's overnight bag. My mother took one look at my face and wrapped Emma in a hug without asking questions. My father loaded Emma's bag into their car, then came back for her. "We'll take care of her," my mother said quietly. "You do what you need to do." After they left, I loaded the garbage bags into my car and drove to the homeless shelter on Broad Street. The woman at the donation desk looked confused when I asked for tags. "I want them labeled," I said. "All of them." "We don't usually, please." She must have seen something in my face because she handed me a stack of blank tags and a marker. I wrote the same thing on each one. "Slut's wardrobe, free to a good home." When I got back to the house, Ashley was gone. So were her car keys and her purse. I stood in the empty living room, looking at the scuff marks on the wall where Tyler's shoes had hit, and called Patricia. "We need to move up the timeline," I said when she answered. "I need those papers served tomorrow." The papers were served on a Friday morning. Ashley received hers at her mother's house, where she'd been staying since I'd thrown her out. I got mine at the office, delivered by a process server who apologized for the inconvenience like he was handing me a parking ticket instead of the legal dissolution of my marriage. Patricia had moved fast. Faster than I'd thought possible. The petition cited adultery, included every screenshot, every hotel receipt, every timestamped location log. It also included Emma's statement, taken by a child psychologist my parents had hired, about what she'd seen that Thursday afternoon. The hearing was set for 6 weeks out. Ashley hired someone expensive, a lawyer from one of the big downtown firms who wore suits that probably cost more than my truck payment. He filed a counter-petition claiming I'd been emotionally abusive, that I'd destroyed Ashley's property in a fit of rage, that I'd alienated Emma from her mother by involving my parents. Patricia laughed when she read it. "They're grasping. None of this will hold up." She was right. The judge, a woman in her 60s named Barbara Whitfield, listened to 3 days of testimony with an expression that gave away nothing. She heard from Ashley's lawyer about the donated clothes, the shoes on the ceiling fan, my erratic behavior. She heard from my lawyer about the affair, the hotel receipts, the fact that Ashley had brought Tyler into our home while Emma was there. She heard from the child psychologist about Emma's nightmares, about how she kept asking why Daddy had been so angry, why Mommy had been crying. On the fourth day, Judge Whitfield delivered her ruling. I got primary physical custody. Ashley got supervised visitation every other weekend and one evening per week to be reassessed in 6 months. The house would be sold, proceeds split equally. Retirement accounts divided. No alimony. Virginia law didn't look kindly on adultery when it came to spousal support. Ashley's lawyer stood up to object. Judge Whitfield cut him off. Your client brought her paramour into the marital home while the minor child was present, she said, her voice sharp enough to cut glass. She engaged in a pattern of deception that lasted months. She showed poor judgment and a lack of regard for her daughter's emotional well-being. This court will not reward that behavior. Ashley sobbed into her hands. Her mother, sitting in the gallery, glared at me like I'd personally destroyed her daughter's life. Maybe I had. Or maybe Ashley had done that herself. The house sold in 3 weeks. A young couple with a baby on the way who loved the backyard and the good school district. I signed the papers in Patricia's office, my half of the proceeds deposited into an account Ashley couldn't touch. I bought a smaller place in the same neighborhood, close enough that Emma's commute to preschool didn't change. 2 bedrooms, a fenced yard, a swing set. I assembled myself while Emma supervised and offered helpful suggestions about which screws went where. Tyler disappeared. I never saw him again, never tried to find him. He was a symptom, not the disease. Ashley moved in with her parents. She showed up for her supervised visits on time, brought Emma presents, cried when she had to say goodbye. The supervisor, a grandmother type named Diane who'd seen everything in her 30 years of family services, filed reports that said Ashley was appropriate, engaged, loving. She made a mistake, Diane told me after the 3rd visit. A big one, but she's trying. I nodded, didn't argue. What was there to say? Emma adjusted better than I'd feared. Kids are resilient in ways adults aren't. She asked questions at first. Why didn't Mommy live with us anymore? Why couldn't we all be together? But eventually she stopped asking. This became her normal. 2 houses, 2 bedrooms, 2 sets of toys. My parents stayed for 2 months after the divorce was finalized, helping with Emma, cooking dinners I didn't eat, offering advice I didn't ask for. When they finally went back to Florida, my mother hugged me at the airport and whispered, "You did the right thing." I wanted to believe her. 6 months after the divorce, Ashley's supervised visitation was lifted. The psychologist said Emma showed no signs of trauma related to her mother, that the relationship was healthy and appropriate. Ashley got her every other weekend, alternating holidays, 2 weeks in summer. I stood on my front porch the first time she came to pick Emma up unsupervised, watching my daughter run to her mother's car with her overnight bag bouncing against her legs. Ashley caught her in a hug, buried her face in Emma's hair, looked at me over our daughter's head with an expression I couldn't read. Then they were gone, and I was standing alone on an empty porch, wondering if this was what winning felt like. A year later, I ran into Ashley at Emma's kindergarten orientation. We sat 3 rows apart in the cafeteria, listening to the principal talk about curriculum and lunch procedures and the importance of parental involvement. When it ended, we found ourselves in the same cluster of parents heading for the parking lot. "She's excited about starting school," Ashley said, not quite looking at me. "She is." "The teacher seems nice." "Yeah." We walked in silence for a few more steps. Then Ashley stopped, turned to face me. "I'm sorry. I know I've said it before, but I need you to hear it again. I'm sorry for what I did. For all of it." I looked at her. Really looked at her for the first time in months. She'd cut her hair shorter, lost weight she didn't need to lose, There were lines around her eyes that hadn't been there before. Okay, I said. Is that all? Just okay? What do you want me to say, Ashley? That I forgive you? That we can be friends? I shook my head. I don't know if I can give you that. Her eyes filled with tears, but she blinked them back. I know. I wanted you to know that I regret it. Every day, I regret it. That doesn't change anything. I know. We stood there in the parking lot, the ghosts of who we'd been hanging between us like smoke. Then Emma came running out of the building, her face bright with excitement about her new classroom, and we both turned toward her, putting on our parents' smiles, pretending for her sake that everything was fine. Because that's what you do. You pretend. You smile. You show up for kindergarten orientation and school plays and parent-teacher conferences. You sit on opposite sides of the auditorium and clap when your daughter gets a certificate for perfect attendance. You coordinate schedules and split holidays and have tense conversations about whether she's old enough for a cell phone. You do it because she didn't ask for any of this. She didn't ask for parents who couldn't keep their marriage together, who turned her childhood into a custody schedule and a court-ordered parenting plan. You do it because you love her more than you hate what happened. 3 years after the divorce, I met someone, a structural engineer named Rebecca who worked for a competing firm. We met at a conference in D.C., started talking about cantilever designs over terrible hotel coffee, and somehow ended up having dinner. Then another dinner. Then regular weekend phone calls that stretched past midnight. I told Emma about her after 6 months, when it seemed like it might actually turn into something real. Emma was 7 by then, old enough to understand that Daddy having a friend who was a girl didn't mean he loved Mommy again. Does she like dinosaurs? Emma asked, because that was still her measure of all things good in the world. I don't know. You'll have to ask her. Rebecca came to dinner the following weekend. She brought a book about paleontology and listened with genuine interest while Emma explained the difference between the Jurassic and Cretaceous periods. After Emma went to bed, we sat on the back porch, and Rebecca took my hand. This is complicated, she said. Yeah. I'm okay with complicated, but I need to know you're okay with it too. I thought about Ashley, about the years of pretending everything was fine when it wasn't, about the lies that had accumulated like sediment until they'd buried everything real. I'm okay with it, I said. But I need you to know that I can't do dishonesty. I can't do games or hidden things or… I know. She squeezed my hand. I wouldn't ask you to. We got married 2 years later in a small ceremony at my parents' house in Florida. Emma was the flower girl, taking her job so seriously she counted out each petal she dropped. Ashley sent a card, not to me, to Emma, saying she hoped everyone had a wonderful day. It was more grace than I'd expected. Maybe more than I deserved. Emma is 12 now. She splits her time between 2 houses, 2 families. She calls Rebecca by her first name but introduces her as my stepmom to friends. She sees Ashley every other weekend and Wednesday evenings, and sometimes I hear her on the phone with her mother, laughing about something I'm not part of. It still stings sometimes. The reminder that Ashley and Emma have a relationship that exists independent of me, that my daughter loves her mother despite everything that happened. But that's how it should be. Emma deserves to love both her parents without feeling guilty about it. Ashley never remarried. She dates sometimes. Emma mentions it occasionally, carefully neutral in the way kids are when they're trying not to hurt anyone's feelings. I don't ask for details. It's not my business anymore. Last month, Emma had a soccer game. I sat on one side of the field with Rebecca. Ashley sat on the other side with her parents. When Emma scored the winning goal, we all stood up and cheered, and for just a moment, we were united in this one thing: loving this kid who somehow survived our mistakes and turned into someone remarkable. After the game, walking to the parking lot, Emma between Rebecca and me, she looked back at where Ashley was talking to the coach. "Do you think Mom's happy?" she asked. It was the kind of question that had landmines buried in every possible answer. I hope so, I said, and meant it. Me too. Emma kicked a rock across the parking lot. I think she's lonely sometimes. Maybe. But that's not your job to fix, Em. You know that, right? She nodded, but I could see the weight of it on her young shoulders. The burden children carry when their parents' lives don't turn out the way anyone planned. That night, after Emma was asleep and Rebecca had gone to bed, I stood in my home office looking at the framed photo on my desk. Emma, at 4 years old, gap-toothed and grinning, holding up her handprint turkey from preschool. The last picture taken before everything fell apart. I'd kept it all these years. Not as a reminder of what I'd lost, but as a marker of what I'd protected. That little girl in the picture had deserved better than what Ashley and I had given her. The lies, the anger, the dramatic implosion of her family. But she'd also deserved a father who didn't accept betrayal as the price of keeping peace. Who didn't teach her that love meant swallowing your dignity and pretending everything was fine when it wasn't. I'd made my choice. Stood at that crossroads and chosen the hard path instead of the easy lie. Some days I wondered if I'd done the right thing. If maybe I should have tried counseling, given Ashley another chance, worked harder to keep the family intact for Emma's sake. But then I remembered standing in that closet, seeing Tyler pressed against the wall, hearing Emma's frightened voice asking if Mommy was okay. I remembered the hotel receipts and the Tuesday afternoons, and the 3 months of lies told with a smile. And I knew. I'd made the only choice I could live with. The truth is, there are no perfect endings to stories like this. No neat resolutions where everyone learns their lesson and lives happily ever after. Ashley made choices that destroyed our marriage. I made choices that ended it. Emma paid the price for both. But she survived. More than survived, she thrived. Became a kid who knew that love didn't mean accepting dishonesty, that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away from something broken instead of pretending it can be fixed. If I taught her nothing else, I taught her that. And some days, standing in my office at midnight, looking at pictures of who we used to be, that has to be enough. Because the alternative, staying, pretending, teaching my daughter that betrayal was something you just accepted, that would have destroyed all 3 of us in ways the divorce never could. I turned off the light and went to bed, where Rebecca was sleeping, where the sheets smelled like lavender detergent and the future instead of the past. Tomorrow, Emma would wake up and I'd make her breakfast. We'd argue about whether she needed a jacket. She'd roll her eyes and tell me I worried too much. I'd drive her to school and watch her disappear into the building with her friends, already forgetting I existed. And that was okay. That was exactly how it should be. The wreckage of my marriage to Ashley would always be there, a foundation we'd both built our separate lives on top of. But it didn't define us anymore. It was just something that happened, a chapter that ended so new ones could begin. Not a happy ending. Not a sad one either. Just an ending. Real and messy and human. And sometimes, that's the only kind of redemption any of us get.